talked some good NBA last segment, but let's focus more around the league, and let's start with the Grizzlies because they're a fascinating team, the 2 seed in the West. Not sure many saw that coming. When you take a step further, Jack, I know you like to make this point. They beat the Pacers by 30 the other night, and there was no Ja Morant. They're 16-2 this year without Ja Morant. Ja's taken a huge step this year, the leader in the most improved player category. But with the Grizzlies' kind of rise this year, with them succeeding so much without Ja Morant, it poses an interesting question of his importance to the team.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's seeing that statistic where it's
16-2,
the Grizzlies are
best at everything.
16-2. Yeah, and it really. I was talking with Alex Wolz, producer, always there for us, always. WFUV, but it really is so unique to see a player that we talk about. I mean, he's averaging 27.6 points per game, 5.7 rebounds, 6.7 assists. This guy is putting up what many would see as MVP numbers. I mean, there's so many parallels between him and Derrick Rose because there is that kind of similar play style, just the way he's able to explode and cut to the rim and attack. There definitely are parallels, but at the end of the day, I think there's a reason why Derrick Rose won that MVP, and Ja Morant's not even top 5 right now. NBA announced their top 5 MVP. He wasn't top 5, and it really is because this Grizzlies team has taken such a step forward, which has been shocking. I mean, they really do have so much depth, from top to bottom of that lineup. And the great thing is, it's not like they brought in some kind of enforcer or some like veteran presence. It's all these internal young guys. And you mentioned Tyus Jones. It's not like he's this, oh my God, they got Tyus Jones from Duke? Like, come on. He was good in Minnesota, but there's no one on that roster that just makes you take, So it's shocking when you do see this team of, guys that we last year would be like Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, these guys are the future of the league.
It's kind of making me think of the 2016 Hawks and just like not a superstar on the team other than Ja Morant. But like I'm obviously Hawks. when they play without Ja, 2016 Hawks,
they're the 1 seed, right?
They had 4 All-Stars.
Yeah, well, they had 4 All-Stars on the team, I guess, but like they weren't like superstars at all.
They weren't superstars.
You wouldn't call Kyle Korver or Jeff Teague or Jake or Damari Carroll.
Those guys,
right?
Those guys are though. I think that the league. I remember that year there was an award. The Eastern Conference Player of the Week was the Atlanta Hawks starting 5. Like I remember there were jokes on the internet: who would win, a starting 5 of all LeBrons or a starting 5 of the Atlanta Hawks starting 5? Like it's they had really good play, and you're right that they're not superstars, but the fact that they were recognized as all-stars,
that's different.
That's different from what the Grizzlies are right now.
What's also very impressive for this Grizzlies team is that they're doing it in the West. I mean, obviously they're a Western Conference team, but if they're doing it in the East, there's a bunch of, fraudulent teams, as we said, in the East. In the West, you have to face the Suns, who are far and away the best team in the league. The Jazz, who are still a very formidable team. The Warriors, who now are fully loaded once again. And I don't know, this is the Nuggets, who still have, maybe the MVP on their team. So it's very impressive that they're able to do it against these opponents. I mean, obviously, they're still 9 games back of the Suns and really don't have much chance of reaching that 1 seed. But have they already clinched? Yeah, they've already clinched the conference. Jeez.
I want to push back on that, though.
Push back on what?
On the West.
On the West being...
East is way tougher than the West.
Oh,
the East has 4 teams that I think would be right there for the number 2 seed in the West.
I don't
Celtics,
think maybe.
I think that beyond there's a drop-off.
I know that
beyond the Suns, right? You mentioned the drop-off.
Right.
But you're really going to tell me that the Grizzlies, Warriors, Jazz, Mavericks, Nuggets, those teams are better than Philadelphia?
I'd say
the reigning
the
champs,
Warriors.
Milwaukee Bucks.
I think, not to cut you off, when you look at it from a depth perspective, the West is superior in my eyes because you go before the year, who had the Grizzlies in the playoffs? Not a lot of people. You had to play that kind of game, injuries here and there. But you look top to bottom, even teams right now, like we expected the Trailblazers to compete. The Lakers are the 10 seed. Who saw that coming? Like, you really do have, look through 1 through 10. Zion comes back if he does. The Pelicans become a legitimate force. The Clippers obviously had injuries, but they're still a playoff team. You know, you look at it, the East, I think you can list those 4 teams that you're talking about. Then there's a drop-off. You can beat up on a lot in the East, like from 5 down. The Cavs are good, but are they that good? Like, do we really buy them? Then you have Knicks, Wizards, Pacers, Pistons, Magic. Those are teams you can beat every night. So I think from a depth perspective, I take that. That's what makes the Grizzlies more impressive to me, because they have to run through these teams every day. And we mentioned the 16-2 without Ja Morant, and obviously he's huge for them. But when they're able to play that just team basketball and not rely on one guy, Desmond Bane one night, Tyus Jones off the bench leading the NBA in assist-to-turnover ratio the other night, Brandon Clark, DeAnthony Melton, they're giving you 10 off the bench. It allows you don't have an ISO guy, you don't have a go-to to be more comfortable in all those different spots. And I think that's why the Grizzlies have been so successful long-term. Obviously, you need Ja Morant on the court. He's still out another 1 to 2 weeks, right knee soreness. You hope he gets better. You still believe, despite what all like the number one in every stat say, they're better with him on the court. But what they've been able to do, I think, without him, it's shocking to me, and it's just really impressive with the overall unit.
Look at, and I understand that there are certain like niche statistics in basketball that are difficult to, it's difficult to measure advanced NBA stats. But per 100 possessions, they score 2.8 points more with him on the bench. Like, their plus minus, they perform 2.8 points better with him off the court. And 16-2, 18 games, that's over 20% of the season. That's not a small sample size. Like, you can't, and I'm not trying to sit here and say that Ja Morant's not a good basketball player, because he is. He is.
Good that you're not saying that.
Yeah, that would be
I agree, but
objectively bad too.
But I'm not ready to put him where I see Luka Doncic right now. And even Jason Tatum and Devin Booker. I don't think he's there yet, just because of how good this team is. I think the Memphis Grizzlies as a whole are a great team, and I credit Ja Morant as the leader of that team, as the general of that team. But if we're talking strictly based on that individual performance, I'm not ready to put him in that tier.
I don't think we should forget, though, last playoffs, the Grizzlies were the 9 seed going in, were they? Warriors
shocked Steph Curry.
Warriors were 8 seed. Yeah, they shocked Steph Curry, and Ja Morant had 35 points. But funny stat, he was -1 when he was on the court. But of course, that game went to overtime, and they won it at overtime. So it was a close game. Like that, if he's on the court for most of the game, there's a good chance that maybe it's -1. But yes, he was -1 in that game. But what I'm saying is, this is a guy that will give you 35 points in a play-in game. Obviously, we saw what he did in college in that first round upset with Murray State. So this is a guy who shows up in the big stage, and I think that that'll really matter for a team that's now, like you said, we didn't think they were even going to make the playoffs. They're a 2 seed. That's way more than just making the playoffs. So they're expected to win, and I think they have such a better chance of winning when they have Ja on the court, especially in a best of 7 series.
So you genuinely think in the playoffs, if I'm a Memphis Grizzlies fan, I should root for Ja Morant to be on the bench?
Yeah.
Do you think that I'm trying to argue that?
I'm asking.
No, I don't. I don't think that's silly.
So your point is only that he's just overrated.
Yes.
People are saying that he's a superstar way too early.
Yeah, we have crowned him way too early. I saw people debating who's better, Luka or Ja Morant. Are you kidding me? Imagine what would happen if Luka Doncic was not playing for the Mavericks right now. They would be irrelevant. Ja Morant misses like almost 20 games, and they're the best team in the league without him, right? So I'm not trying to argue that they are, you root for Ja Morant to sit on the bench. But I think at a certain point, you have to realize that this team's pretty darn good, even without him.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
So, I guess at that point, it's like, well, then how good is he? And I don't know, because he's in year 3. He's 22 years old. But I don't think I'm even ready to put him ahead of other guys in his draft class. I'm still a firm believer in Zion Williamson being the better player than Ja Morant. I had to bring it up. Because we've all written off Zion Williamson. I'm taking him.
Well, there's a reason we have. It's because he's played 85 games in 3 seasons in the NBA. You got to stay healthy. You got to be on the court.
Who's going to win MVP
this year?
Mm-hmm.
Not Zion.
Not Zion.
Who's going to win MVP?
Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid. You know how many games he played over his first 2 seasons?
Sure, and
goose egg.
And he is an anomaly for getting back out there. The way Zion's body is, shaped, the athlete he is, you think that he will be able to be the same freak of nature?
Absolutely.
And only time will tell, but at the same time, I think it's ridiculous to take a guy who can't get on the court, whose team, without him, is in the playoffs.
Currently?
Yeah, they're
a playing team. Wow. But they're not 16-2. They're not that good.
No. Right, and I mean, yeah, but Ja Morant has been there.
Did you see the video of in practice of Zion between the legs off the backboard, slams it down?
Yeah, and you sent it to me, and what was my reaction? It was, I wish we could see it on the basketball court more than 85 times in 3 years.
I'm just saying that there is a blueprint.
Yeah, but did you see Ja Morant's 360 dunk in warm-ups the other day?
I'm sick.
No, he never. When he dunks in games, they never go in. But
that's the thing. I'm sick of the highlights. Oh, imagine if Ja made this. It's like, bro, you missed a shot.
Can I say that those are the stupidest highlights? You should never post a missed dunk and be like, whoa.
Imagine if this went in.
Come on.
What could have been?
It's so stupid. House of Highlights, ESPN, shame on you for that. Shame.